Yeah. Shall we start? Hello?
Yes, Lavkesh, you may begin. You may
Yeah,
begin.
ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lavkesh Gautam, and today I am going to open up the presentation on the behalf of my team. And the topic that was assigned to us for a study was the a summary of a book named "Does IT Matters? Information Technology and the Corrosion of Competitive Advantage." This book was basically written by Nicholas G. Carr, and this is going to be the structure of our presentation. I will be covering the introductory session, and moving forward, Nicholas G. Carr was an American writer whose work basically focuses on the intersection of technology, economics, and culture. He was also the former executive editor of Harvard Business Review, a magazine. In that, he wrote an article named "IT Doesn't Matter," which was published in year 2003. Moving ahead, the main argument that he made in that article was like IT. He opened the article by stating that IT is the best tool for the operational excellence. He discussed in that how IT is transforming the businesses to achieve the operational excellence. The next point he discussed was the potentiality of IT to link to behave as a linkage between the data and information. The further he elaborated on the IT, the information technology is relevant for the computation, but it is not that much significant to consider it as a business strategy. The next point he discusses is he recommend the businesses to be ready to deal with the risk which are associated with the investment as the businesses. He cited the example of the global companies who made the huge investment, but there was no certainty of getting the high returns. The next thing that he elaborated in this article was IT is unable to provide competitive advantage. As we can clearly say, or we can understand that in short run, a company can what can I say? Company can earn the competitive advantage in the short run, but in long run, if we look the other companies, the competitor will follow up the strategy, and the competitive advantage will be wiped out. The next point he discussed in this article is all about the threats and vulnerability that are associated to the IT investment. And before making the investment in IT, the company should be focused on. Now, coming further, the book that is Does IT Matters is basically the extension and the expansion of his article IT Doesn't Matter, which was published in Harvard Business Review. And this book is basically published in October 2004. And the main idea of this book is focused on the information technologies and how information technology is related to business strategy, if information technology is used as a business strategy or not. And this in this presentation or this book is specifically focuses on the commoditization and standardization. We will be further talking in detail in the next slides. Now I would like Arham to build further. Over to Arham.
Thank you, Lavkesh. The first topic of the presentation is a new business infrastructure. Microprocessor was the greatest discovery of the 20th century. It changed the way the world did business. It moved us from mainframe computers to personal computers and led to the creation of information technology and its infrastructure. This has been reflected in the corporate spending too. Corporate spending in 1965, corporate spending on information technology was about 5% of total capital expenditure, grew to 15% in 1980s, 30% in 1990s, and around 50% at the end of the century. Even after the burst of IT, dot-com bubble, still average company still invest as much in IT as in all other capital expenditures combined. There was this belief that computers were suitable only for low-level executives. But after networks and the advent of internet, even higher executives started to focus on strategic implications of IT and how it could be used to create competitive advantage. The question is, has strategic advantage of IT increased with its ubiquity? Moving on, there is this belief that there's a belief in the business world that the ubiquity of IT has increased its competitive advantage. The writer believed that this is incorrect. Scarcity, not ubiquity, makes a business resource strategic. All the core functions of IT, data processing, data storage, data transportation, are available and affordable to all. It does not provide any distinctiveness to anyone. And without distinctness, the only basis for competition is pricing, which eventually slashes the prices close to cost and squeezes out profit. Investment in resources that provide differentiation can deliver higher profits while commodity inputs cannot. A company should distinguish between commodity resources and resources that can provide competitive advantage to avoid wasted cash and strategic dead ends. Now over to Muaz.
Thank you, Arham. Now I will elaborate the topic changing the role of information technology. The transformation of information technology from an advantageous entity to the expense of doing business raises many obstacles. Executives now need to consider spending and management of IT and analyze relations with dealers. Mitigating risk and controlling cost is now the foremost motive of companies rather than pursuing innovation and new investment because of the merger of IT in the standard business infrastructure. Further, technologies that have reshaped industries like steam engine, railroad, and electricity giving competitive advantage initially, but later became commoditized and eventually mattered less. IT too has been considered of the same league of industries with similar fate. IT as a shared and standardized infrastructure will actually prove economical and beneficial, successful in achieving full potential after its great transformation power fades by providing advantage in its initial stages. Moving on to a real life example of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. During the 19th century, railroad lines were unevenly distributed and critical variables had yet to be standardized, posing hindrance in the working of businesses. However, the opening of Baltimore and Ohio Railroad in 1830 proved to be boon for businesses located near Baltimore, enabling physical proximity and giving proprietary advantage. This led to the success of companies such as Hershey and Macy's, which used the railroads and telegraphs to their advantage. Next thing to happen was technology became widely accessible. In turn, the opportunity to gain individual advantage diminished, leading to the fading of infrastructural technology. It would be crucial to see how business leaders will react to the position of Chief Information Officer in another 100 years. As we know, earlier it was common for companies to create roles such as Vice President of Electricity because of technological transformative role in businesses. Now over to Sharif.
Thank you, Muaz. Moving into the depth of summary, let's talk about evolution. How evolution? How does the infrastructural technologies evolve? Evolution of infrastructural technology started with railroad during mid 18th century, followed by telegraph wire and a telephone system in 19th century, then electric grid, radio and broadcasting, and highway system in 20th century, and nowadays computer networking. Also, in recent days, metaverse is about to bring new infrastructural change in the world. Those who are not aware of metaverse, let me explain a little bit about it. Metaverse is a virtual reality world where users can interact and experience things as they would in real world. These technologies created these technologies created global market and competition as well as new business organization and methods. Now moving to advantages. So firstly, let's see what are type of advantages. There are two type of technologies. Sorry, there are two type of technologies: proprietary technologies and infrastructural technologies. Proprietary technologies can be owned by a single company and can be the basis for long-term strategic advantages as long as they protect it from competitors. And infrastructural technologies offer more values when shared than when used in isolation, and it is inevitable that they will become part of general business architecture. Companies can also gain advantage if they have foresight about the rest use of technology. So over to Yatendra.
Thank you, Sharik. Now we have a very important question here. Does this IT destined to become a commodity input? So if we see this question from the aspect IT as an infrastructural technology, so it becomes a little bit hard to answer because IT is made up of both, that is physical hardware and the abstract software. So when we talk about our past infrastructural systems, which are made up in that fashion, that they can only serve one or maybe two or three few functions actually. But now the IT system can be made through software code to serve infinite uses. But when we compare it to the code, when we compare to the old IT systems like railroads, telephone networks, old IT systems like railroad and telephone systems, still they do not work with its full potential and need to be standardized. And now moving on to the next thing, that is commoditization of the hardware. So first, we elaborate a little bit small terms like what is commoditization. So we can say it is a process by which goods that have economic value and are distinguishable in terms of qualities end up becoming simple commodities in the eyes of the market or consumers. Now, we also say then what are the effects of the commoditization? So when we talk about its effect, this tends to strip away unique or identifying qualities of the commodity in favor of identical, lower cost items that can be interchanged with one another. So we can say this is positive for the whole market and the consumers, but having bad effect over the developer or initiator who spend a lot of money to develop that particular software or hardware, we can say. And we have a very good example of the commoditization of the PCs. So all of us know that is in the starting age, computers were proprietary machines and very few people accessible to them. But when this hardware becomes standardized and then people like Michael Dell make it available to everyone, that is in few time PC becomes commodity. And at least we can say this becomes commodity in the developed countries. But now, then what will the big companies' reactions about it? So the big companies disappear the individual hardware and set the stage of grid computing, where computer does not exchanges files only, they blend together into essentially one machine. And now Ashutosh will further elaborate the next things. So to you, Ashutosh.
Thank you, Yatin. So now we will move on to the topic commoditization of software. So the first question comes to our mind is software safe from commoditization? As we all know, software has no tangible form or limits on innovation. So in starting, it appears safe from commoditization. But in reality, software is a real product that needs to achieve real results, because of which it gets affected by same rules of economics like other physical goods. So now as it is not safe from commoditization, then what makes software a commodity input? Since software are being developed, an attempt is going on to realize economies of scale and to amortize high development costs over as many users as possible. Eventually, this will result in more sharing and availability of software that would make it a commodity input. Now, so what are the issues with proprietary software that made it a purchased good? Earlier, the cost of developing proprietary software was extremely high, and companies had to pool resources so in order to save cost, even though at the cost of sacrificing distinctiveness among them. Now, these companies used to buy the software from the software development companies. That's how the proprietary resource turned into a purchased good. Now, what happened with the advent of PC that transformed software into a packaged good? The transformation of software did because now companies could easily afford more computers, and the non-technical employees have more increased use of the computers, the interaction increased, and the networking started playing important role in businesses. Now moving on, as we all know that software never decays, so there is no logical repurchase cycle for it. But the software developers provide constant software upgrades, which led to overshooting, thus creating opportunities for cheap and open source software. By mid 1980s or by the end of 1980s, the generic programs were available for various functions like accounting, HR management, etc., which later got culminated in ERP that we all know stands for Enterprise Resource Planning Systems, which brought all management systems together in a single integrated system. Later, the writer discusses the case of a Wi-Fi, that how Wi-Fi became the next big commodity. So as we all know, Wi-Fi is already a commodity, which is cheap and becoming universal element of the infrastructure. In mid 1990s, Intercell developed Wi-Fi. Later, Intel began selling its own Centino chips at a cost even lower than the cost of its production in order to remove profit from market to prevent rivals from entering into the market. Intel did this so that the Wi-Fi becomes a commodity and becomes easily accessible to much more people, so that it gave a positive impact on the sales of Intel. Now handing over to Saad.
So thank you, Ashutosh. Now I'll take it from here. So as Sharik already told about these technologies, so let's see how it finally led to vanishing advantage of these technologies. So let's understand this with an example. Imagine yourself in the early 19th century and suppose that one manufacturing company held the rights to all the technology required to create a railroad. Property lines could be made between its suppliers, factories, distributors, and run its own rail cars on the tracks. It might operate more efficiently as well. But for the broader economy, these technologies should be shared and thus will become the part of general business infrastructure. Moving on, as explained in the earliest phases of its build-out, an infrastructural technology can be in the form of proprietary technology. And I have cited some of the examples of the two on the screen. So as long as the access to the technology is restricted through physical limitations or any means, a company can use it to gain advantage over their rivals. One example is the US manufacturer company of nuts and bolts. It located its factory near the Niagara Falls in New York at the turn of the century. So I would like to conclude my part. Infrastructural technologies didn't vanish at all. It continues to influence competition, but their influence is felt at the macroeconomic level, not at the level of the individual company. So now Sheena will continue from here.
Thank you, Saad. Now I will take it from here. The corrosion of additional advantage. Neutralizing effect is very strong with IT. Yes, IT neutralizes the advantages, and this neutralizing effect is very strong with IT because IT is very flexible and deeply entwined with business. There is also corrosion of performance and advantages. As companies adopt similar information system, the infrastructure technology will become more homogenized. As companies continue to look to outside vendors to operate key system, Internet has magnified the homogeneity effect by undermining the effect of proprietary closed networks, which has shifted power from company to customers and enables customers to compare the prices, features, and qualities. IT has become a type of solvent for business strategy, pushing companies towards competitive parity. Strategy is now more important than ever. Only the strategically astute companies will rise above. For instance, Dell established its strategy before building its much praised IT system by cutting out the wholesaler, retailers, and Dell changed the economy of the industry. Dell was already a low-cost provider when it launched its web store. Moving on, building on the past. Strategy require a broader definition of competitive advantage, which include both traditional advantage and leverageable advantage, where leverageable advantage is a privileged market position that provide a stepping stone to another privileged market position. Nobel laureate Ronald Coase stated in 1937 that using the market Intel's transaction cost above the prices of the good. A company will do anything to reduce the transaction cost. Anything else it will outsource. But some people misread Coase. He also indicated that lower transaction cost within a company increase management efficiency, allow the company to do more, which increases the company's size. Successful strategy comes from looking both inside and outside, achieve both a privileged industry position to exploit internal capabilities. Company must balance agility with stability and openness with guardedness. Now it's over to Ahmed.
Thank you, Sheenam. Now I will proceed with the topic managing the money pit. As we know, IT is entwined with so many business functions. IT projects are expensive and problems in IT software can incur huge losses to the company. For example, Oxford Health Plan lost $3 billion in market capitalization due to billing software problems. Another example is Nike lost $400 billion when it had difficulty in installing supply chain software. The goal is to bring the failure rate down by managing the risk of IT in individual firms. Moving on. Here are the several ways for managing IT money pit. Use all capacity. The massive amount of spending in 1990s left many companies with more capacity than they needed. Use superfluous server space, hardware and software. Another way is put tighter control on IT usage. Up to 70% of what is stored on corporate networks consists of employees save emails, spams, MP3s, and video clips. Restrict employees' ability to save file indiscriminately. Another way is put more rigor in system planning. Higher level managers might be more creative about finding ways to explore cheaper hardware, software, and service alternatives. Now over to Samir.
Thank you, Ahmed. Now let's discuss innovations when risks are low. Any company with substantial market power can pursue infrastructural innovation that fortify existing advantages. Let us take an example of Walmart's early move to promote radio frequency identification in the consumer packaged goods sector. These tiny chips allow more precise control over inventory and improve productivity for the entire industry. By pushing RFID to become a commodity, Walmart's neutralized it as a strategic weapon for competitors, enjoyed higher gains due to economies of scale and cost leadership in the industry, pushed most of the cost of adopting the technology onto the shoulders of suppliers. Now let's talk about some vulnerabilities of IT. IT has many operational dangers, including service outages, security breaches, vindictive or careless employees. Hiring of IT staff is also a cause of concern as well. There are also different ways to fix these vulnerabilities as well. Instead of viewing IT positions as generic, managers must find people with specific skills. IT staff will need to be able to negotiate with vendors and manage a far-flung workforce, which widely spread with all over every part of the world. Senior executives need to promote a sense of realism about the strength of limitation of IT to prevent over-optimistic predictions and high spending by recognizing and accepting the true nature of situation and trying to deal with in a practical way. Over to Tamkana.
Thank you, Samir. Can we change the slide? Yes, thank you. The future of technological change. Before talking about the future, let us look back and take a dig in the past. People has always seen IT as a revolutionary force that can change everything. In fact, some proponent of technology even promised us new digital age, where the way of doing business will be completely transformed and free from physical world. Yes, you heard me right. It will be free from physical world. But after all these ages and advancement in technology, has it truly been that transformed? I won't deny that technology has somewhat made our life easier, and coupled with internet, it has changed the way we communicate, we save data and shop perhaps. At this very moment, we all are connected through a digital platform using maybe our mobile phone or laptop. But it has not brought about some cataclysmic change as in case of electricity or railroad. We cannot imagine our life without them, but can we say the same about IT? Moving on. It is also observed that IT investment productivity is not proportionately increasing with IT investment. In fact, most gain in productivity is a function of complementary investment. Other issues to consider in future when computer takes over the job done by people is if the economic growth of the country is more than its productivity, then the whole economy benefits. But for some matter, if the productivity rises above the economic growth, then unemployment increases and the society suffers. So strong productivity gained from IT can do us both harm as well as good. Now I would like to request Zishan to carry forward the presentation. Over to you, Zishan.
Thank you, Tamkana. I would like to present the key points that we have learned through this article. Now, number one is the trends toward IT investment. Investment by the organization, especially in the IT sector, has been constantly increasing. The fact is supported by the data given in the article. As in 1965, corporate spending was about 5% of capital expenditure. And in 1990, it increased to 30%. And now average spending on IT is much as on the combined capital expenditure. Next, early mover competitive advantage only in the short term. Whether it is a case of adoption or innovation in IT, early mover can have edge over his competitor only in the short run. We know in modern time, it takes short period of time to be catched up or replicated by the competitor. Now we have IT has become a commodity. There is a quote, scarcity makes a business resource strategic. But now almost every organization is in possession of IT. Therefore, being now available and affordable to all, IT has evolved from a strategic resource to a commodity. Moving next. Here is a question. How IT can be made more effective? Now, firstly, IT should be well aligned with the company's goals. For this, concrete plans and models need to be formulated. And then a company must change its practices to exploit full potential of IT. As in 1990s, it has been seen that companies left with the more capacities than they actually needed. And at final, companies must be innovative in their use of IT. For this, companies should always find new opportunities in the field of IT. That's all from our side. Thank you very much. Now we are open to questions.
Okay. Shiraz, you can ask questions.
Okay. So am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So my first question is, what is first mover advantage? You must have seen this word in the article. What is first mover advantage?
Sir, can you please repeat? Your voice was breaking.
Can you please repeat?
What
I
is
can't hear you.
first mover advantage? First mover advantage.
First mover advantage.
Somebody
Yes, sir,
in
first
fact-
mover.
Sir, it's the ability of a company to be better off its competitors.
Okay.
Sir, first mover advantage is basically a technology or anything that a company adopts in order to overcome his competitors which are there in the market. Like in our class, the ma'am cited the example of Citibank, the installation of the ATMs in their country. The first mover advantage was with the Citibank, and other banks followed the same strategy, but there was some first mover advantage was associated with the Citibank only, as it has captured the whole market initially.
We
Now,
have also a very
Ashutosh.
good example.
Yes, yes, sir.
Ashutosh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you mentioned software never decays. Can you please explain this line? Software never decays.
Sir, as we all know that software is not a perishable product. So we all have used software one or other form. So it's become obsolete by the time that a new technology upgrades. But the old software never decays. It's not a perishable item. It continues.
How do you label updates? For example, updates are required for a software. What are they for?
Sir, there are many kinds of upgrades. For example, if there is a bug, in order to resolve that, the software developers provide upgrades. But in much more, the other types of updates are like that. If a new technology has arrived or a new resource is being provided, then software updates are provided continuously.
So now next question is for anyone other than Aram, because Aram presented that part. Scarcity, not ubiquity, makes a business resource strategic. Aram, you want to answer? Anybody else? Please explain this line.
Yes, sir. If we see in the terms of in economics terms, anything that is scarce, that provides an advantage. Like if the scarcity can be used, the IT can be used when it is scarce as the business strategy, but in ubiquity it cannot be produced. It cannot be used. if we see in today's case, the IT is in ubiquity. It is everywhere, present in every field, and every company is utilizing its most of the potential. So the no company is able to achieve or earn the competitive advantage. Every firm are performing in a standard manner. So this is basically, if a company is only a company is having the IT, so the IT resources are scarce, then that company can enjoy the competitive advantage. This is basically the quote that has been quoted by Arham in the presentation.
So now my final question for you is why is IT compared to railroads and telephone networks in this article? Why is it compared to these two?
So there are many ways in which the IT is compared to the other infrastructure means. First, it is compared as the means of transformation. Like the IT provides information and provides transformation of different things, same like the railroad and the other things. And other, it is compared as the means of infrastructure or means of an advantage. As the earlier companies which have electricity connection or have the railroad connection, they got opportunity to build on the business much faster than the other companies. So they gain advantage from them. So in these many ways, it is compared from railroad and electricity.
One more example that I'd like to add is the example of port. The businesses that were near to the port, they had advantages. They could transport their goods easily, but due to the railroads, those advantages were neutralized, because even those companies that were located in faraway cities can still get the connectivity and can transport their goods and services.
So in short, there were major transformations. That's why they are discussed at large in this article.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question, I think, for the entire group. Somewhere at the end of the a research article, there was some mention of American Airlines transforming the way the industry operates, then FedEx transforming the way the industry operates. Mobil Oil, what were these examples, if you can recall? There were, I think, mention of 4 or 5 companies where they brought about a change using technology which transformed the way the industry operated. Okay, any 1 or 2 examples. What did Mobil Oil do? Or for that matter, eBay. I think we have discussed eBay also in the earlier classes. Dell, Walmart, then American Airlines also.
Ma'am, one of the examples were of airlines, American Airlines. So the example was something that they use enterprise resource planning to improve the way they allocate their seats, and how there was first of all a clerical work. Before the implementation of technology, they would have to work with the clerical work, but after the introduction of technologies, they automated all the processes, and this increased the efficiency and also reduced the clerical work, and also reduce what you would call as the commissions that the clerks would take in the form of some type of corruption. They were also reduced.
Ma'am, it adopted the ID for booking the tickets of the airlines, and that reduced the cost, and all other companies that were present over there was not able to adopt the technology in short span of time. For the long period of time, the American airline enjoyed the competitive advantage over the other firms. That example was basically about like this.
Actually, these companies basically using the phenomena of economies of scale, where the average cost per unit of output decreases with decrease in the scale or magnitude of the output being produced by a firm.
It also shows first mover advantage.
Okay. Also, the article begins with the fact that earlier, when technology was talked of, it was relegated to lower positions. What brought about the change in the thought process of the executives? So when initially talked about technology, it was relegated to lower level managers, lower level clerks. Later on, there was a change in their perception. Why was the change? Yes,
Ma'am, I would like to discuss the example of Jack Welch of General Electric. So using his examples, he did not know about computers and all the stuff. He also believed that low-level employees, computers were suitable for low-level employees. But during a vacation, his wife introduced emails and web pages, and due to this, the Jack Welch actually said that every executive, 500 executive of the company is going to find a young internet mentor so they could learn. And he also created a site and initiative to transport and to create what he would call as the digital, word of the General Electric. Digital change.
Yes, I would like to add, initially access to the IT was restricted to few firms because of the higher costs or government regulations, but now it is easily available and affordable.
Ma'am, also I would like to add one point. In the very beginning, computers were considered as a combination of typewriter, calculator, but with when it coupled with internet, then only people realized its potential and then started acting on it.
What's your name? Tamkana.
Tamkanet.
You have answered it very well and very precise also. Basically, initially it was thought only for processing of data, but then we started using information technology for deriving strategic advantage. And therefore, the position of how the executives saw information technology totally changed. And there are so many examples, like we talked about Walmart, we talked about eBay, American Airlines, and so on. They started using technology to the strategic advantage. Fine, it was a good presentation, the entire team. We'll get back to you with your positive and your negative points. Okay, can we move on? We can log out. We can move on to the next group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Uruju's group ERP BPCL case study.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, your group can take over.
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. Shall we begin?
Yes, you may begin. I'm noting that positive and negative points. इसमें था कि they didn't take too long.
Sabha Mujib, Vikas Gautam, Shubham Goyal, Imran, Divyank Yadav, Tasmia Tabriz, Shubham Kumar, and Zishan Ahmed. Before we move on to the case study, let's get to know something about BPCL. BPCL stands for Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, which is an Indian government-owned oil and gas corporation and is headquartered in Mumbai. It was established in 1952 with the name Burma Shell. Organizations to merge their day-to-day business activities which helps. Am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible, Uruj. In between, you were not.
Carry on, Uruj, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Now let's see what ERP is. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, which is a type of technology as well as a software which helps the organizations to merge their day-to-day business activities, and it also automates their business processes, which in turn increases their efficiency by reducing the mundane and the documentation. Now I would like Vikas to continue.
Thank you, Uruj. Thank you, Uruj. Good afternoon to everyone. In this slide, we will see why BPCL needed ERP. First, environmental conditions forced BPCL to change its process, basically due to its units spread across India, real-time connectivity with multi-locations, and multi-groups in the business was the need of time. And customer focus emerged as the major concern of the BPCL for speedy delivery of its products. Cost competitiveness was need of time. Providing quality products at lower price was the need of time. And third, integration of different activities for speedy, speedy system for effective communication, organizational restructuring was needed in BPCL so that it can focus on increasing its non-fuel revenues and retail business and to retain its market position by initiating IT structure at that time. In the next slide, we will see implementation of ERP in different phases. First, this is IS plan. IS plan, it deals with selection of suitable software for implementation of ERP. Now, second is project entrance. That is implementation of SAP R3. After that, we will see quantitative benefits of ERP. How it helped BPCL to reduce its cost in inventory management. And after that, we will see modules considered for implementation, in which we will get to know that BPCL decided to implement all the modules of SAP R3. After that, we will see phases of implementation. In this, we will get to know how SAP was implemented and the major difficulties BPCL faced in implementing ERP. After that, we will see change of management. Why change of management was necessary for successful implementation of ERP. Now, I would like to hand over the presentation to Rehanbir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to continue with the IS plan. So IS plan was brought up to support the business aspirations of the company. The needs of the ERP was recognized as it speeds up the response and increase the efficiency. 3 ERP softwares were shortlisted, and namely SAP R3, Oracle OED, and Ramco's Marshall. After evaluating the needs and wants of the BPCL according to its products, SAP R3 was selected. In this process, a group of 9 people were constituted, mapping of various business systems and process. Approximately 600 process maps, ERP vendors were shortlisted. Evaluation of the shortlisted vendors were done keeping in mind the present and future needs of BPCL. Now I would like to hand over the presentation to Divyang.
Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Vihan. As the BPCL wants to implement the ERP, what the problem is that they have 3 vendors: SAP R3, Oracle OED, and Marco Marshall. So out of these 3, the company elected the SAP R3 as the SAP R3 for their organization. As the election of the SAP R3 basis on few points, such as the SAP R3 is basically the integrated system. So it contains many modules, such as the financial modules and material management and the sales management and many other modules. So SAP R3 basically integrated all the modules. So it is very beneficial for the organization for their working. It will also fit for the present and the future requirements other than the Oracle OED and the Marco Marshalls. It supported the oil accounting. Others were not fit for their requirements for the present and the future requirement. That's why the company selected the SAP R3 as the for the ERP implementation. Thank you. Now, Uruz will continue the presentation. Uruz?
Yes.
Continue the presentation, please.
Sorry, you were not audible. Detail of the estimated quantitative benefits of ERP. After SAP ER3 was selected, the details of the quantitative benefits that were going to the organization have were drawn and listed. They were as follows: lubricants, aviation, finance, HR, information system, material, and that totaled up to 42 crores per year. Now I would like Zishan to continue.
Thank you, Ruj. Good afternoon, everyone. Implementation of SAP R3 is named as Project Entrance by the management, which is short form for Enterprise Transformation, which signified the vision of a totally transformed organization, a new BPCL. BPCL ERP implementation has been a business initiative. The head of IT in BPCL came with the expression, "We perform the necessary catalytic role paradoxically." During the software selection phase, looking at criticality of technological issues, IS should do the role of process anchor, whereas implementation was led by a non-IS person. Mr. Shrikant, an HR professional, head the project. IS plan team was having only 10 members from IS and remaining 60 members from various businesses. A project steering committee PSC was constituted with the heads of all SBUs, finance, HR, and IS as its members to validate decisions taken by the project team, take decisions on interface issues, identify and solicit decisions from Apex Council on issues with wider strategic implication, provide resources and review progress of project. PSC meeting held at least once in a month and as and when issues demand resolution. Thank you. The Imran will continue from here.
Thank you, Zishan Ahmed. Good afternoon, all of you, respected teacher and my dear class fellows. I am elaborate here phases of implementation. So there are two phases of implementation. First phase comprised conceptual design and planning, while the second phase covered the detailed design and implementation. What is conceptual design? So conceptual design is an early phase of design process in which the broad outlines of function and form of something are articulated. Customer services, robotics are the examples of CDP. And what is the detailed design? So basically detailed design is the phase where the design is refined and plans specification and estimates the created. Now we start the second point. PricewaterhouseCoopers was selected as implementation partner in CDP phase, and the time duration for completed the given task in 6 months. And I can talk about the SAP India. Now, SAP India was chosen to assist all the units of BPCL in DDI phase. The CDP phase helped to bring to stakeholders to many important aspects that were needed for detailed designs such as organizational structure or the measure for BPCL petroleum. And fourth, and now Muhammad Aman will continue.
Thank you, Imran. Now I will continue with the topic in modules considered for implementation in the CDP phase. Almost all the modules were considered for implementation in the CDP phase of SAP R3. The important modules which were considered for implementation, like FI modules, which stand for Financial Investment Module. This module helps in business recording the business financial transaction of the organization. The second module implemented in this was MM modules, which stand for Material Management Modules. It deals with the procuring and recording the data of inventory which the organization have or which will be needed. Or the third module implemented in this phase was HR modules, which deal with the HR related activities, and also it is concerned with personal development and administration. The another modules implemented in this was PM modules, which means plant maintenance modules, such as services and when the plant needs services and repairing, which material will be required for maintenance, etc. SD module was to record the sales and distribution track of the organization. Product planning modules was implemented in this also. Quality management modules were also implemented to meet the quality need that desired by the organization. CRM modules was also implemented to meet the customer and in handling customer effectively and efficiently. And these some other modules which were also considered for proper functioning of the various department. Now Shubham will continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Mohammad Aman. Now I will continue from the scope of CDP phase in BPCL. Basically, it covered various processes areas such as financial accounting, GL, AP, AR, investment management, etc. Was done with version 3.1H, 1.OD, and CIN 2.1A. Ruth, please next slide. Now, what will be the desired outcome of the conceptual design and planning phase in terms of BPCL? In terms of BPCL, CDP involves developing a conceptual blueprint of how the company will operate in SAP for most of its business critical processes and getting an understanding of the implications and transition of people, process, and technology to the new processes. BPCL would like to state its desired outcome of the CDP phase as follows. That is, the project team has defined the span of SAP's functionality necessary to support BPCL's operations in all its locations, and the processes owners have understood that areas that SAP will support along with the areas that it will not support. The project team and the process owners have understood the SAP hierarchy and its implications. Therefore, they need to understand the implications of information consolidation, example like profit and loss statement of a business unit versus territory level, determined by the choices of SAP hierarchical elements. BPCL expects to have defined the top level SAP organization hierarchy. The project team has got the acceptance of process owners for the identified business critical, that is known as 2B processes. For the business critical 2B processes, BPCL has chosen the best option within SAP R3 and has got the acceptance for the same from the process owner. For the business critical 2B processes, the process owners have understood that the chosen process options will enable the realization of anticipated benefits along with the change implications involved. For the business critical 2B processes involves BPCL in a position to embark on detailed design. And for all the other processes, the BPCL has identified support for them in SAP R3. And for all the other processes, BPCL has identified the gaps between 2B and SAP R3 and just will the approach to resolve these gaps as follows. First point, whether they will be met by workaround in SAP R3 or not. Second point, whether they will be met by legacy interface or not. Third point, whether they will be met by third-party solutions or not. And now BPCL has understood the project implementation methodology, learned the skills to effectively monitor the implementation. And after the CDP phase, finally BPCL had to engage an implementation partner for detailed design and implementation. For the sake of continuity from the earlier phase, PwC was considered for the DDI phase also. That is known as detailed and design implementation. However, later SAP India was also included and eventually it was selected as the implementation partner. Now over to Mr. Shubham Kumar. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubham Goyal. Now we discuss about the DDI, that is detailed design and implementation. SAP India was chosen to assist BPCL in the DDI phase through a bidding process. Considering the piles of data in mind, the objective of DDI implementation was to implement it in different phases. When it was possible, BPCL also ran several steps simultaneously. BPCL began the phase of implementation at a few pilot locations in order to offer clarity for the whole implementation effort. It attempted to understand and assess the efficiency of important business operations in SAP through these pilots in order to prepare for company-wide implementations. BPCL estimated that the SAP R3 detailed design and implementation would take around 24 to 26 months to complete. The SAP RT system was implemented through all of the BPCL's offices and departments. BPCL implemented DDI within the organization on 16th of August 1999. BPCL was responsible for the design completion, setup and implementation in base versions of SAP R3, 4.0b, IS Oil 4.0b and CIN 2.2b are the base versions of SAP R3. Pilot implementation under this, keeping the output of CDP as a base, the process design of pilot implementation carries specific SAP recommendations through their quality audit. The thorough configuration and pilot implementation phases were carried out by BPCL in 6 phases. Phase 1, Phase 2 and Phase 3 was started in year 2000, Phase 4 and 5 in 2001 and Phase 6 in the month of April of the year 2002. Under data migration, BPCL created the appropriate master files and built the data needs prior to the pilot. All of the requirements for populating the data into the new system had to be determined. To complete the migration of historical and new data items to the SAP RT system were created. Integration testing included creating comprehensive test scenarios, running integration tests on these scenarios and making adjustments depending on the test results and response. As we discussed, under the basis and authorization, the implementation partner established the access rights and generated appropriate authorization profiles for carrying out the BPCL's defined transactions. DDI also included several services like training, documentation, technical architectures, project management, sign-off and closure, quality audit and compatibility, and many more. Now I would like to hand over the presentation to Mr. Faisal Quddus. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubham. Good afternoon to all of you. Change of management is my topic. Change of management happens after the implementation of SAP, freezing the old state and refreezing the new to make it established. Means the old method replaced from the new method. Tools and techniques managing people side to change the process to achieve the required outcome. Right from the beginning, the change in the management issues were considered to be the utmost importance. To begin with the change in the management, we have to bring the effective change within the individual teams and wider system. Apart from training, various motivational workshops were conducted throughout the organization. Uruj, can you change the slide, please? The employees' participation is necessary to bring the change in the organization so they can understand about the new methods. SAP implementation was bound to change each and every role in the organization, and management was committed to equip each employees to take up the role. Final rollout of implementation of SAP modules across was very smooth. BPCL has already rolled out the SAP at 160 location out of estimate to 200 location. Process of undertaking SAP training coordinator to create the business type with the faculty as resources. The event of SAP training event in the business scheduled on the month prior to go live. Cross-modular business training to be conducted by the coordinator for the trainer. Before the training of SAP, we have to finalize the trainer for a particular business event. Six full-time trainer is appointed for training for taking up the change in the management process. These trainers these trainers take other employees to work as a part-time trainer, so their skill can reach to all employees working in the organization easily. The selection of trainers was done mainly on the following criteria: understanding the new system, having basic knowledge and familiarizing skill, and acceptability. The trainer essential were identified as teamwork in good decision making, commitment to business result. Now I asked Sabah to continue the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Major issues which occurred while implementing ERP are as follows. Resistance to change acceptance. Since BPCL is a big company, there were resistance stages or units in the organization. Especially when the senior management or employees don't see the need to change, or sometimes employees may experience resistance when they haven't involved in decision making process. Next, comprises various steps and phases. ERP, like there are various phases or plans while implementing ERP in BPCL, such as IS, IS plan, project entrance, CDP phase, DDI phase, which was time consuming. Like what happened in a phase, due to the lack of time or maybe improper planning, the actual software wasn't feasible to configure the product within given time frame. Difficult to adapt by employees. Sometimes what happens is that when the new changes or plans are made by top management, employees find it difficult to adapt. Maybe because employees are poorly introduced the plans or changes, or maybe because their inability to adapt. So when SAP was introduced, employees found it difficult to adapt. Required thorough training. So in order to achieve required outcome, thorough training is necessary. Like while implementing ERP in BPCL, employees find it difficult to adapt SAP. So in order to overcome this issue, a team of 16 employees was nominated as a coach on the basis of 10 to 15 years experience and creditability by management. And only 6 were positioned as full-time coaches in order to facilitate the transition of employees into their post ERP implementation role. These coaches further trained a few others to work as part-time to achieve desired outcome. Next, complex data conversion. It is a process of translating data from one format to another, where it translates computer objects and data types like one format to another. It is one of the main reason why ERP implementation misses goals such as deadlines, budget, or even both. But BPCL overcome this issue by awareness and senior management for streamlining, for faster decision making in order to complete organizational goal in given time without any delay. That's all from my side. Now Tasmia Tabriz will continue with the next slide.
Thank you, Sabah. Good afternoon, everyone. Now I'll take it from here. Benefits of implementing ERP in BPCL. One major advantage of having ERP in the BPCL kind of environment is almost a real-time connectivity with multi-locations and multi-groups in the business. This would reduce the intra-office documentations and also involvement in mundane activities. Uh, this definitely would have a bearing on the productivity of people. The advantage of ERP solutions with its people-driven focus would be this it would turn all roles and functions into procedural activity. It would help in better metricizations of roles and functions. So another major advantage is the increasing motivation level of employees with the adoption of technology. So firstly, they would be away from mundane and routine matters. Secondly, having worked with the state of art technologies, they would essentially enhance their skill set and hence their employability in the market of the employee. That's it. So Rian will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. In conclusion, I would like to say that the ERP created a pool of skilled resources in the industry. With ERP, BPCL was able to establish separate profit centers. BPCL used ERP for implementing and analyzing their major resources. ERP at BPCL had far-reaching positive implications. With the help of ERP, identification and mapping in the organization was done. With ERP in an organization, flexibility remains intact. Thanks a lot. We are open for questions.
Now, students can also ask questions, relevant questions. It is open to the house. If students want, they can ask questions. Okay, Shiraz.
Okay, so Shubham Kumar, am I audible, Shubham Kumar?
Where's Shubham?
Yes.
Yes, so Shubham, you mentioned a word pilot implementation. This question is for the exam. What is pilot implementation?
Please, your voice is breaking. Repeat the question.
What is pilot implementation?
Sir, please repeat the question.
I repeat, sir, what is pilot implementation? Mention this in your presentation. Pilot implementation. What is that?
Okay. Pilot implementation. Okay. So basically, we are using the word pilot for measure success of the implementation. And in the pilot implementation, we basically focus on quality audit.
Someone can answer instead of Shubham. It's for the entire group.
For implementing any project, firstly at a small level.
Ma'am, pilot implementation mean BPCL we have to define, or we have to define what is pilot implementation?
Define.
Ma'am, implementing project at a small level.
Implementing on a small level.
Anybody can add to that? Tasmia?
Ma'am, can I?
Shubham, can you off your mic, Shubham? Hello.
Yes, not answering.
I was explaining further. Ma'am, first pilot implementation was carried out at some given location in the business areas. It was first chosen 3 sites that were refinery, Wadi Love lubricants plant, and many programs were experienced. At Wadi Hub, staff observed that many simple tasks in the earlier system become tedious and they demand longer working hours than before.
You can ask the next question.
Okay, so this is for the entire group. For this. Okay. So am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, this question is for the entire group. In this article, the year of liberalization of market in India is given. What was the year of liberalization?
Sir, 1991.
Sir, 1991.
What, sir?
1991, sir.
1991 and 1992.
Yes. What did it mean for the I? What did it mean for the I? That year.
Sir, LPG model was introduced by Mr. Manmohan Singh, Finance Minister.
But what it did mean for the IT? Why is it mentioned in this article? There must be some correlation.
Sir, because of sir globalization, sir.
Okay.
This question is for the entire group. What do you mean by migration? Somebody talked about migration.
Migration is
Ma'am,
basically
moving from one place to another.
Yes, Vikas, you can answer.
Ma'am, moving from one place to another.
One?
Ma'am, moving
yes,
from
Yes,
one.
Anuj, may I answer?
I was saying that migration basically means moving from one place to another, but if we see in this case, it is from moving from one technology to the other, because BPCL was implementing ERP on a large scale, over 200 units.
Now you mentioned over 200 units. Let me add to that question which Shiraz had asked regarding pilot. Pilot means you first implement it in maybe one unit. And then if you find it successful, then you'll move on and bring about changes and implement it across the entire organization, that is across all the 200 units. So that is what we mean by pilot study. So we implement it in one unit, and once it's successful, do we carry it across to the rest of the units? So that's pilot implementation. Now, this is again for the entire group. What are the three criteria which you think you'll consider as will keep you at your fingertips before you go on for an ERP implementation? Three things. Any three factors, any three criteria. Any of you can answer.
Well, firstly, we would
Yes.
like to arrange for necessary trainings.
Okay,
Then
employee
we
training.
would- Then we would keep in mind that ERP implementation is costly. Then we'll arrange for the funds that are necessary to
Okay.
implement ERP. And thirdly, we will see what do we need ERP or not, or is it okay with the current technology that we are using?
Time management is
But
also
that should be
necessary.
the first consideration. Once you decide upon technology, only then you think about implementing. So the first two answers were correct. Any third factor you'll consider?
Ma'am, according to the needs of the organization.
Yes.
Ma'am, according to the needs of organization, we will see which software is suitable.
I'm like keeping in mind
Or
the
which
products
techno-
and services which the company is having, and like the present and the future needs.
Time management, deadlines, or budget.
Budgetary cost
Just
of
one
implementation.
Okay, it
Budget
was
or
good question.
time
Let me just
management.
add toughest case among the, I said it's a mixed bag. So there are some cases questions, there are some cases without questions, there are certain research articles, and there were certain thoughts. It was a mixed bag, and this is the toughest that was among all the topics that we had allocated, and it's been presented very well. Okay, thank Uruj's group. Now we can
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
move on to the
Thank you,
next
ma'am.
group.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Today's last presentation is from Mohammed Umar's group, Mastering the Three Worlds of IT.
Okay, ma'am, can we present the screen?
Yes, Mohammed Umar's group can take over.
Okay, ma'am.
140.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir, and good afternoon, all. The topic for our group presentation is Mastering the Three Worlds of IT. The group members are Fokia Naz, Saria Salim, Anam Salman, Aksa Arif, Hamad Arif, Muhammad Umar, Saad, Muhammad Hamdan Azimi, Humaira, Fatima Muhtashim. And the topics that will be covered in this presentation is introduction to the topic, that is what is IT, its importance, IT as a managerial challenge, the three worlds of IT, that is functional IT, network IT, and enterprise IT, and managing these three types of IT through IT selection, IT adoption, IT exploitation, and IT dialogue, and at the end, conclusion. To begin with, let us first understand what IT is. IT can be defined as the use of hardware, software, services, and supporting infrastructure to manage and deliver information. These could be in the form of vocal, textual, pictorial, or numerical. As we are all well aware of the fact that humans have been storing, manipulating, and transmitting information since the Sumerian period in the form of primitive symbols. Now, with the evolution of technology, the techniques of processing information is done through computers, satellites, and internet. However, the term information technology in its modern sense was first appeared in 1958 article published in the Harvard Business Review. Moving to the next slide. Godfrey Reggio said, "It's not that we use technology, we live technology." It is said so because we can see technology in almost every aspect of our life today, in almost every activities we perform today, whether it's science and engineering, governance, or educations. In an educational sector, the use of graphics, animation, videos, presentations, and e-learning to supplement conventional approaches has also changed institutional practices. The mode of online classes is also a part of technologically education. The forms of our entertainment has changed. Earlier, we used to have indoor and outdoor games, but today streaming music, videos, animated movies, and other form of entertainment can be accessed anywhere, everywhere via mobile phones, computers, or on televisions. The methods of businesses, the methods of business operation has also changed with the evolution of technology. Almost all the information that businesses require is obtained by the use of computers and information technology. Majority of the world's financial transactions are now conducted electronically. Hazardous activities are performed by robots. Moving to the third slide. As Bill Gates said, we are changing the world with technology. In this slide, I have mentioned that how the activities of business has changed with the emergence of IT, whether it's communication or administration or the recruitment process or the marketing and production. The communication process with IT, businesses communication has been made much easier with emails, phones, text, social media, and websites, whereas administration has been benefited through word processing, packages, email distribution, databases, and telephone systems. This has made actions such as letter writing and managing large amount of information much easier. The recruitment process, where many job roles are now advertised on the internet through business websites, recruitment websites, and online interview. The methods of marketing in business has changed, where the traditional marketing used to have where the traditional marketing has changed to promote businesses online and reduce the overhead cost and time compared to running a physical shop. The production department has also shifted towards using CAD and CAM, which are more efficient, less expensive, and less time consuming. Whereas the traditional methods of production involved drawing design by hands, creating a number of prototypes, and using humans to manually produce goods or operate machinery. Now I request Sarya to cover the challenges faced by managers with the emergence of information technology.
Thank you, Fokia. So I will now continue the presentation on the topic IT as a managerial challenge. Moving on. The use and demand of IT is increasing and there are innovations, abundance of new technologies in the marketplace. So there has been a drastic growth of IT sector and a lot of people have been employed in it. Moving on to the next slide. Eventually, it becomes difficult for managers and the IT companies to figure out what those systems are, like what they do, what one they should buy, which one is right for their companies. Moreover, research has shown that corporate IT projects often results in complete failure or bad results. 51% of IT efforts ran over budget, 47% of returns were low, negative, or even unknown. Furthermore, any new IT proposal creates debate in boardrooms. Hence, IT projects are becoming a managerial challenge rather than the technical ones. Moving on. So, what exactly builds an effective IT model? C. The success not only dependent of the manager, every colleague within a company influences the outcome. For example, GPT, which means general purpose technology, it has been very important innovation that caused big jumps in economic progress over time. For improvement in the overall performance of GPTs, there are four organizational complements, which include better skilled workers, high level of teamwork, design processes, and new decision rights. When these four organizational complements are combined, the GPT process can be improved. Now, IT is also a part of GPT, but with having a fundamental difference when it comes to the complements. Like, as some IT companies can deliver results without a single complement, whereas some allows the complements to emerge over time and others impose the complements they need as soon as the technologies is deployed in companies. So, based on these variations, IT can be classified into three categories, thus helping the managers to understand on which technologies they must invest and on which products they should focus on to maximize the returns. Hence, there are three categories of IT. This will be presented by next speaker, Anand Salman.
Thank you, Saria. As a chief information once told Andrew McAfee, I can make a project fail, but I can't make it succeed. For that, I need my business colleagues. So, in order to get success with IT, it requires commitment, where, when, and how one should get involved. Executives evolution that computers about as IT illustrates that's an oversimplification. Andrew McAfee categorized IT into three parts: function IT, network IT, and enterprise IT. Actually, function IT. It includes all the technologies that make the task that it will help you to do any specific, discrete, or more optional task. The thing that needs to be done for this to actually move along. Software engineers, artists, and other knowledge will get the value are in place. Looking at the first one is that it can be adopted without complements, which means that it will do things which a company task to be rated with a task. It complements either to do a function task and something, and you got some other task. Then those two tasks will be complementary to each other. Then we have such software that moving on to the next slide. Taking an example, it has motorcycle brand in the function I. Ducati announced that it would enter the GP circuit back in 2000. The designers kicked off a motorcycle, started using similar software to build and test work. So, similar basically a software that allows you to input the engine specification, and the code determines the engine's performance. The team then realized that a 2-cylinder engine wouldn't be powerful enough to win the races, so it decided to build a 4-cylinder engine. The team finished designing motorcycle powered by the engine, was zooming around test tracks 2 months later, and the project was largely completed by the January 2003. Then the Italian company participated in the MotoGP circuit in 2003. As a result, Ducati placed second in the manufacturer's standing, a ranking of companies that race motorcycles on the circuit, and its riders finished fourth and sixth in the standing. Moving on to the next slide. Talking about the capability of functional IT, is first one is as seen in the example of Ducati. First is increasing so on with doesn't need to enhancing competition cap of engines and compared it with compared with each other and without performance without touching a steel, which implies that thousands of engines are virtually being built using a software and thus saving a cost, manual labor, resources, etc., and thus making a profit. Now, I would like to invite Aksa to continue the next category, which is network IT.
Thank you, Anu. So the second category of IT mentioned by McAfee is network IT. Network IT is a set of technologies that lead people to send or receive any data or information. It allows people to communicate, connect, and collaborate with each other. In simple words, we can say that network IT helps us to exchange data or information and share resources with others. The function of network IT is to facilitate or provide means of communication. So the characteristics of network IT are: first, it doesn't impose any complement but let them emerge over time, which means that it doesn't force itself to work with other tasks, activities, or softwares, but because of its very existence, it will gain complement. That is, it can work with the other technologies to give more advantages. Second is, it doesn't specify tasks or sequences. These type of technologies are not about doing your work, they are about connecting what you are doing. Third is accepts data in many formats. It is open to several formats because the entire purpose is to letting people communicate with each other in easiest manner. Some of the examples of network IT are email, wiki, blogs, and mashups. Moving to the next slide, let us look an example of Dresdner Kleinwood versus an investment bank. So in May 2005, JP Rangaswamy, the Chief Information Officer at Investment Bank, decided to introduce three new technologies. They were messaging software, employee blog, and company wiki, in which the employees can contribute to or edit without needing permission or without using HTML or any other computer language. They used messaging software to contact the firm's traders and analysts across the world to generate data, opinion, and finding answer. Wikis help them to post agendas, to-do lists, and work in progress, and also to deal with the overload of emails. Many managers also used to write blogs and post comment on the others. So the capabilities or the benefits of network ITs that we can conclude are, moving to the next slide. First is facilitating collaboration. It allowed people to work together but without defining who should work with whom or on what project. It basically gave people freedom to experiment instead of telling them what they must do. Second is it allowed expression of judgment. People were allowed to give their opinions and share their ideas. People were allowed to express their views about each and everything related to the company. The last one is fostering emergence. Here, emergence means getting high level patterns or high level results with low level interaction. At DKW, it allowed managers to compare how work is done with how it is supposed to be done. Employees can also easily search and navigate and trends and data, even though nobody was in charge of making them easy to use. So this is all about network IT. Now I would like Hamad to continue with the third category of IT, that is enterprise IT.
Thank you, Aksa. Now I will introduce you about the third IT, which is enterprise IT. So basically, enterprise IT is the type of IT application that companies adopt to restructure interactions among group of employees or with business partners. Applications that define entire business processes such as CRM and SCM, as well as technologies such as electronic data interface that automate communications between companies fall into this category. Unlike network technologies, which percolate from the bottom, enterprise technologies are very much top-down. They are purchased and imposed on organizations by senior management. Companies can't adopt EIT without introducing new interdependencies, processes, and decision right. Moreover, companies can't slowly create the complements to EIT. Change becomes necessary as soon as the new systems go live. So, let us take an example of CVS pharmacies. In 2002, American retail drugstore chain CVS became concerned about the long wait time at its pharmacies and re-examined two steps that it had automated. The first step was prescription fulfillment process, and the second step was drug safety, insurance. 1 hour before its pharmacies had performed the first step after a safety check for drug interactions 1 hour before the consumer desired pickup time. After that, it checked whether the insurer would pay for the medicine despite automating the process. CVS often was unable to resolve all of the outstanding safety and insurance issues by the promised pickup time, which irritated customers. CVS then decided to reverse the order in which the steps were executed. The change met with resistance from many CVS pharmacies who felt that since the drug safety check was the more important of the two, it should be the first step in the process. The team that was rolling out the project reasoned with the skeptics but eventually realized that it would not win them all over. So it instructed the pharmacies to perform the insurance review first. When customers dropped off prescription rather than immediately before pickup time, that allowed technicians to work with customers to correct small glitches such as date of birth errors in health insurance records that would prevent drug reimbursements and to warn people if they were likely to run into bigger issues such as the no payment of insurance. The new sequence also let CVS pharmacists incorporate the procedure instead of treating it as a separate step, redesigning the fulfillment process, cut wait time as CVS by as much as 80%, which improved customer satisfactions. So the primary capabilities of EITs is the redesigning business processes. Because CVS employees couldn't fill prescription until they had completed the 2 checks in the new sequence, the revamped fulfillment processes wasn't just a good idea in the theory. CVS employees had to execute the process in that particular sequence. EIT gives managers confidence that employees will execute processes correctly. Standardizing workflows is the second primary capabilities of EIT. Once companies identify a complementary business process, they can implement it widely and reliably along with the EIT. CVS rolled out its new process in 4,000 outlets across the United States in less than a year. And the third and the last one of the primary capability of the EIT is monitoring activities and events efficiently. So EITs can allow managers to get an accurate and up-to-date picture of what's happening throughout the enterprise. Often is something close to real time. CVS software lets executive how many prescriptions are filled every day in each location, how long it takes to fill each prescription, and what kind of fulfillment problems employees had to tackle. So this is all from my side. Now I would like Umar to continue with IT selection.
Thank you, Hamad. I will continue with the IT selection part. Across the 3 IT categories, executive or managers have 3 tasks. First, they must help select IT applications that will deliver the organizational capabilities they desire. Second, they must lead adoption effort that result in the creation of complements for those technologies. And third, they must shape the exploitation of IT by ensuring that technologies, capabilities, and complements stay aligned. Basically, IT selection is a most important thing for a manager and of course company. Almost all companies need IT support and buying it. But many companies buying it do not make any sense because between 1999 and 2001, American companies spent more than $130 billion on information tech, which they never used, just spent $130 billion. No one stopped to think about whether the organization actually needs the capabilities that the technology offers or not. Companies often select IT applications after one of their executive hears about a new technology and wonders why his or her organization has not invested in it yet. Companies will even invest in a technology because everyone else in the industry has purchased it, or because it comes with glowing recommendations from consultants, analysts, and of course journalists. But the trouble is there is an endless supply of new applications. Coming to the next slide. Partly because of innovation and partly because of clever rebranding. Now, first of all, we need an inside out to think in IT selection. We should keep this question in mind. Will any of the new software on the market enables our engineers, scientists, analysts, and other workers to do their job more efficiently? Number two, are our function technologies outdated? Or if so, then why? What has changed? And do our company's engineer need to increase their experimentation capacity? Or we can ask, do our sales and marketing department need to collaborate more often? We can ask also, do we need to standardize fulfillment process throughout the world? Typically, functional IT delivers productivity and optimization. Network IT increases collaboration, and EIT, enterprise IT, helps standardize and monitor work. Okay, coming to the next slide. Here is a case of Cisco, which is an American multinational technology corporation headquartered in San Jose, which is in California, USA. Integral to the growth of Silicon Valley, Cisco develops and manufactures and sells networking hardware, software, telecommunication equipments, and other high technology services and products. In 2004, Cisco realized that there were drawbacks in its IT decision-making process as it was trying to recover in late 2001 from a fall in revenues. Chief Information Officer Brad Boston found that Cisco had 9 order status tools. Each of them used data from different sources, which used different definition for key terms. Coming to the next slide. As a result, the system could not give the company a clear picture of its orders. There were similar problems in the sales organization also. Boston and his colleagues also realized that Cisco needed to improve its standardization and monitoring capabilities. So they selected an upgraded ERP system and a customer database. They also decided to implement the new technologies across the company, even though it was costly and time consuming to do so. The ERP project required 3 years to implement and cost the company approximately $200 million. Since Cisco could not gain the capabilities it wanted without those technologies, however, it chose to invest in them. Thus, in the light of this example, we can say when executives decide what capabilities they need, they will know what kind of infotech to buy and nature of the initiatives they must manage. Once the company's business needs are clear, the technologies it requires will come into focus. Then it will be smooth. Now Saad will further elaborate the topic.
Thank you, Umar. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to continue the topic IT adoption. After IT selection, executives' attention turns to adoption, the hard work of putting the technologies they have invested into productive use. It is the stage at which a decision is made about adopting particular hardware and software technologies. Managers, moving on to the next slide. At this stage, managers' main responsibility is to help create the complements that will maximize IT's value. Next, moving on to the next slide. We have 3 types of ITs. First, functional IT. Functional IT doesn't bring its complement with it. So managers must find ways of identifying them. That's what BMW's chief designer, Chris Bangle, did in the late 90s. When he wanted designers to use computer-aided styling software, the designers were reluctant to use the software, even though Bangle had hired CAS as computer-aided styling specialist to work alongside them. One day, Bengal declared that within 3 months, the CAS team would have to pay for itself, or he would sell the team's computers. He didn't twist the designer arms. He pressured the CAS team, specialists and modelers. They help the designers adopt the software and create new design processes. Moving on to the next slide. Then we have IT adoption for network IT. When it comes to NIT adoption, because the use of such technologies is voluntary rather than mandatory, they make users feel more rather than less in control of their work. As a result, their adoption isn't different. However, managers still have to intervene with new technologies such as groupware, wikis, and blogs by demonstrating how they can be used and by setting norms for participation. Moving on to the next slide. Then we have enterprise IT to adopt. In contrast to FIT and NIT, enterprise IT is hard for companies to adopt. The benefits look great to people at the top, but employees usually dislike EIT technologies. Unlike network technologies, they don't just enable new ways of working, they dictate them. Enterprise systems define new cross-function business processes, impose the processes on employees without allowing employees to modify them. Most employees doesn't like having new processes dictated to them by a piece of software and will use a variety of techniques to prevent the adoption of enterprise technologies. Executive must intervene forcefully throughout EIT adoption efforts because new processes change decision right and greater independence come hand in hand with these technologies. So I would like to invite Mr. Hamdan to continue. Thanks.
Thanks, Shad. IT exploitation. A business leader's third IT-related responsibility is to extract the maximum benefit from technologies once they are in place. Companies can best exploit functional IT by the fine-tuning organizational complements. In 1995 America Cup sailing competition, they found that all the teams used simulation software to help them design their boat kills. Most team worked with universities and aerospace companies to build sophisticated simulation and used either mainframes or supercomputers to do the work. Now moving to the next slide. IT exploitation for network IT. Network IT employees exploit older network ITs such as email and instant messaging on their own. But business leaders have a role to play in exploiting newer technologies like blogs and wikis. They can help sustain and increase the use of complements to make the technology continually more effective, primarily by guiding users. Darren Leonard, a managing director in the global equity derivatives business at Redstone Linfold, recall how he got his colleagues to use the company's wikis. Now moving to the next slide. IT exploitation for enterprise IT. Enterprise IT exploitation is often easier than its adoption. Since the work of imposing new processes is done by this stage, the manager task is to leverage already standardized data and workflows. Few employees and managers have problem with that. They are eager to get the most out of a system that was so much trouble to set up. Exploiting enterprise IT sometimes requires adding a new functional IT on the top of it. In the mid-1990s, food services giant Cisco implemented an enterprise resource planning system and data warehouse across its 80 regional businesses. Cisco's executives realized that because of all the companies were now recording orders in the same way, it was possible to analyze the standardized data to answer the questions. Now it's over to you, Humera. You can continue from here.
Thank you, Hamdan. So the next topic of the case study is IT dialogue, and this is the dialogue that executives must discuss among themselves in order to know which type of IT they need in their organization. So let's review that. Business and IT leaders, they should periodically meet to discuss what the company is doing right now and what technology it has. And during these meetings, the CIO, that is the Chief Information Officer role, is not to come up with new technologies, but to collaborate with executives on capability development. The discussion should cover organizational footprints, the geographic, functional, and divisional range over which the company will develop new technologies. And they should be talking about the expense required in those new technologies and the difficulty and time involved in deploying it, especially enterprise as we need. Now, moving on to the next slide, there are some questions that they have posted. So, whenever you're in a business as an executive or even an IT manager, and you're thinking about these technologies, then you should learn to ask these questions in these meetings. So, if we talk about the functional IT, will any of the questions could be, will any of the new software on the market enable our engineers, scientists, analysts, and other workers to do the job more efficiently? Are our functional technologies outdated? If so, why? What has changed? Now, looking at network IT, we should be asking how do our people collaborate? Do we know what technologies they're using? Do we have ways of letting qualitative information flow in all parts of organization horizontally and vertically? Should we try and find a method of helping them send us feedback? Do we need one? So, how do we know what our people are working and what topics they are thinking about? Now, moving on to the third slide. There are some questions for enterprise IT. For example, how current processes are not supporting our business needs, which ones needs to be redesigned, which ones needs to be extended to our customers and suppliers. Are there best practices that should be a part of our system, and how do we do that? How do we change ourselves according to the environment? Are there important business and activities or events that we need to monitor within an organization and see if they're not doing it right and improve them? Is there some data unavailable to us that we need to have access to or some people need to have access to? And what's the most recent period that we could easily analyze to see whether we are doing well? So all of these are the questions that need to be asked when we're talking about enterprise IT. So what's important for the executive to know is how long a proposed IT will take and what it will cost. In IT, there is a complex interplay between technologies, capabilities, and components. And what smart companies are doing is that they spend little time predicting financial benefits that will accrue from its efforts. They keep track of spendings and milestones, and they constantly check to see if they are on track to gain IT-based capabilities they desire. So that's it. Now I'll just ask Fatma to carry on with the presentation.
Thank you, Umaira. Now I would just conclude and give an overview of the whole topic. So the topic is mastering the 3 words of IT. So this is basically an article published in Harvard Journal, Harvard Business Review. So in this article, mastering, when the author said mastering the 3 words of IT. So here 3 words it mean by 3 categories of the information technology. The author has divided information technology into 3 categories. That is functional information IT, network information and information technology, and enterprise IT. So as we have seen in the previous slide, that the functional IT is basically like, for example, I'll give that the assignments in our classes we are giving, we have some subject we have to use spreadsheets like Excel, or so that is a kind of functional IT. And network IT, like our classes are going on via Google Meet or Zoom or these kind of application that we are using. So that is basically network that our teachers are taking our classes with this kind of network. So this is a kind of functional network IT. And one more example is like that, your presentation is going on, so ma'am must be taking her attendance, and she is evaluating and she is giving marks to us. So these marks, these ma'am will send to the departmental office, and from departmental office they will go to controller office, and from controller office they will make a list and they will publish and they will display to us. So this is basically a network among the departments, or there is basically a network between the teacher and the students. So this management has decided. So that is a form of network IT. Now talking about the enterprise IT, we can give an example, like if your university collaborates with any company for the recruitment, campus placement. So that is an organization, the university and the company. So that comes under enterprise IT. So in order to implement any of these categories, the manager or executive has to go through a process of selection, adoption, and exploitation. So like, for example, there are a lot of applications available in the market. So the management of our faculty has to decide that which applications they have to choose in carrying out the classes. After choosing those applications, they have to adapt to them, and then only then they have to exploit and in spite of being online, our classes are carrying on smoothly. So it's basically it's a role of the manager of the executive. Like in, for example, in this example, it's the duty of the management of our faculty that they do these process like selection, adoption, and exploitation. So while the managers do go through the process, they face many challenges. Like, for example, in the selection criteria, there are a lot of applications available in the market. So they have to choose based on the need of the organization that which application will suit their organization. Like our management will choose some of the applications in carrying out the classes. Like this will be best, that will carry our classes. This application will be best for us. So they have to choose. There is selection criteria. Then there might be resistance from the employees. Like some of the students don't like to carry classes on Google Teams. So there might be they don't attend the classes usually. Like I'm giving an example. So but the teacher carries on the class. He doesn't stop there because some of the students don't like to take class on certain application. He doesn't stop this class. So the management doesn't stop the class. Similarly, if any of the employees in the departmental office doesn't like to use a particular software, they don't stop sending the data to them. So they might the basic idea is that the manager or the executive might face certain resistance from the employees, but in these times they have to impose the decisions on them. They don't stop, but they have to. Managerial role is to be strict in this case, and then there might be delayed outcomes due to as a result of this. Moving on to the next slide. So in a nutshell, we can say that technology is itself doesn't solve any purpose. Rather, it helps a purpose to achieve. It's not about the technology, it's not about the technology, but rather it's about how well an organization is organized to harness out of that technology. Technology in itself doesn't serve any purpose. If we use that technology, if the managers of the executive use that technology, only then we can avail best out of the technology, and only in that case the technology can result into the success. Otherwise, it might drive into outright failures. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And thank you, everyone, for listening patiently.
Now it is house is open for questions. If somebody has any question to answer, to ask some relevant questions. Okay, Shiraz, over to you.
Okay. So, am I audible, everyone?
Sir, please be a bit louder.
Okay, okay, so let me be nearer. Okay, so the topic was mastering the 3 words of IT, isn't it? Now, IT is all about innovation and new ideas. Can you please, anyone from the group, can anyone give an example of an advancement which did not live up to the expectations?
So can you repeat your question?
I'm asking about an advancement in IT which did not live up to the expectations. Okay, so now let me give you an example. Did you know about the flip phones? You know the flip phones?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember? Did they live up to the expectation? Do you think that they succeeded?
No, sir.
No, they did not succeed.
No, the flip phones did not succeed, and that was an advancement which did not really, live up to the expectation. Similarly, is the case with 4K TV. People are still shifting to HD TV, but they have brought in 4K TV. That is not working in the Indian market. Okay. Anyways, now
sir, we can add Nano car, Tata Nano.
Yes, Tata Nano. Yes, it did not. But that was after. Initially, it was a success. Then it became a failure. That is something related to SCM. Supply chain management. Yes. That is different. Now, in the article, there are 3 classes of IT: functional, network, and enterprise. Which of these do you think is the most vital to the organization?
So network IT.
Why do you say so, Fatima?
So because if the network ID is not there, any organization will not be able to forward any data. Like for example, there is one department where engineers, they are designing something and they need to transfer it to the production department so that they will get an idea how to design. Then they have to send it to marketing department for the advertisement. So if there is no proper connection between between the departments of any organization, then the data cannot you know data cannot get transmitted properly, so there might be mismanagement or there will not be desired outcomes uh, of anything.
Sir, in my
So
opinion,
Fatima, in your presentation, okay, Anam, you may continue. Yes, Anam.
in my opinion, sir, fit is very important because it will help you to do a certain a specific task. It will give you a more it will be of more operational in nature. So it will help you do things on day-to-day basis, because if you can't do that, how can you are going to share those things so first task is doing things right in the day-to-day basis. For example, students, they are using them Excel sheets to do their projects, or we can say that accountants, they are using the certain softwares, or students, they are using the softwares to do the data analysis. So I think in my opinion, so fit is very important because it will help you to do the task before sharing it.
So Fatima, you said about the network IT being the most important. Anam, I think you are going with functional IT, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So in my
Okay.
as far as my knowledge goes, sir.
Okay. It's fine. Now, in your presentation, there was a slide which mentioned that enterprise IT, it is appreciated very easily by the top management, but there is some resistance to it towards the lower,
Yes,
So wouldn't it make it very vital to the organization, because it is important? It is very important for us to, withhold that resistance.
Yes, sir. Sir, enterprise IT, it is so much top down, like in this IT, the main one who controls all the operation is the head or the manager.
So may I?
Employees doesn't have. Yeah, you can.
Sir, this is the challenge. Everything that comes with the benefits also has a challenges. So this is one of the challenges that the top executives have to face from the resistance from the employees. So it is the duties of or the responsibilities of the executive or the managers to handle this challenge wisely.
So now this is the MHA group, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is the role of IT in today's healthcare? Any example? What is the role of IT?
Sir, there is a lot of examples in today's healthcare, sir.
Database management.
If you take any hospital, first of all, when you'll go to the introduction bench, and then they record the data of the patients. They record everything about the patient, and they send the report. If you go for examination, blood, any examination, health examination, they send you report via that. Like in Lalpath also, if you go for any blood examination, they deliver the report on your WhatsApp. So that is one of the examples. And similarly, there are many examples of information technology and healthcare.
Sir, I would like to add.
Certain apps are also being used nowadays. For that, you have to you easily can appoint to a doctor and get a consult with that doctors.
Like we can take the example of Practo.
Yes, telemedicine is another example.
Also, NetMeds is very popular.
We can call,
NetMeds.
video call. We can consult to the doctors with video call. That is telemedicine is also an example.
Also, network IT plays a role here. The doctors and the medicines, the pharmacists are connected to each other, so it is very easy to.
Yes, also if there are many applications to supply medicines, so you place an order and you get the medicines at your home delivered. So there are a lot of such examples in healthcare of information technology.
Here, ERP is a most important thing, which is enterprise resource planning. In IT, ERP is most important because it refers to a type of software that organization use to manage day-to-day business activities such as accounting, procurement, project management, risk management, and compliance. A complete ERP suite also includes enterprise performance management. So ERP is also a most important thing for a company or a hospital.
Okay. Now, do you all remember the case study which was presented day before yesterday? Tushar's group presented a cyber security issues in a hospital. Do you all remember that?
Sir, I couldn't attend the class that day.
It's okay, it's fine. See, basically the crux of that case study was electronic health records. They are, they are in the danger of, they can be hacked. Okay, electronic health records, they can be hacked. Now, in JNMCH, the Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, which we have in Aligarh, it is still paper-based. Now, you as an MHA student, how will you convince the administration at JNMCH to move to electronic health records from those paper records?
Sir, we'll ask him to use them software which are hard to hack.
Okay.
So we'll
And we will tell them the benefits of using technology. It might save labor. It might save a lot of time. So we'll convince them this way.
Okay, so
Sir,
one point you
IT
should put is,
Hello.
okay, yes.
Sir, sorry, sir. Sir, basically IT tie together a multiple of business process and enable the flow of data, okay, between departments and colleagues. So it could be better than paperwork.
Okay. So Fatima mentioned that it will be time consuming. Paper records are time consuming. That is very correct. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So AirTrust features encode the information in a way that can only be read by authorized users in programs, for example, data encryption. This
Yes.
We can give them as a project. It was a okay, good presentation. Just go back to the second slide. Just let me have a look at your second slide. Who was presenting?
Yeah, ma'am, 1 minute.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, this is slide. Next one. Next slide. Okay. Next. Next one. Go. I think that was the first slide that you showed. Just show me the first slide. Slides and technology.
Just continue.
Yes, now come to the second one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is IT selection, IT adoption, IT exploitation, IT dialogue. What do you mean by IT dialogue?
Ma'am, it's a, can I?
And basically,
Yes,
it's a conversation about the increasing importance of information technology and the role it assumes in every enterprise, regardless of size, industry, and geography.
Ma'am, basically, IT dialogue is a kind of a conversation that should exist in every organization among the executives, in which they have to ask each other and they have to discuss each other that these kind of questions, like for example, whether these kind of any technology they need in their organization or not, will it help them perform better, will any technology will be easier for them to use. So these are the kind of questions that is called IT dialogue that they have to discuss among themselves so that they can use the technology in best possible way.
So we can say that IT dialogue is an inside-out approach in which all the members or employees and the top management discusses at what kind of IT or what kind of technology we need in our organization, and if we are ready for that.
So very well done. The MHA group has presented well and even answered it really well. So thank you so much for your presentation. It was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you,
so
sir.
much. Thank you, ma'am.
Next group will be presenting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tomorrow will be an off day, so the next presentation will be on Wednesday.
At 2 o'clock, we expect you all to be there. We don't have a class at 2, but I've scheduled it at 2 o'clock. So we expect full attendance that day. Okay, you can call it a day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Assalamualaikum, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.